Hello, I am Cheryl from Healing Science Today, and this afternoon I would like to encourage confidence in giving mental treatment. First, the treatment will be based on divine science or Christian Science as presented by Mary Baker Eddy back in the 19th century. We'll start with the definition of Christian Science. There are many definitions or explanations of Christian Science floating around in society, such as Christian Science is a way of life, or Christian Science is a religion. However, those definitions are really rather narrow, and they lead to confusion. Mary Baker Eddy gives a broader definition of Christian Science, which allows confidence in mental treatment to increase. In her book, Rudimental Divine Science, she asked the question, how would you define Christian Science? She answers herself, as the law of God, the law of good, interpreting and demonstrating the divine principle and rule of universal harmony. Everyone can learn the law of God, of life, truth, and love. But not everyone can live a certain way of life or follow a particular single religion. Therefore, we stick with this broader definition of Christian Science that Mary Baker Eddy gives. With humanity's advancement in learning the power of mind, we know it is possible to refine our mental treatments so that they bring goodness and protection to us and our earth. I'll read from Science and Health a few sentences offering instruction on mental treatment. It's from the chapter Christian Science Practice. Mentally insist that harmony is the fact and that sickness is a temporal dream. Realize the presence of health and the fact of spiritual being until the body corresponds with the normal conditions of health and balance. Now, this instruction takes understanding. We can't just sit around and think positively. We can't just repeat these words. It won't help if you adore these words. Blind belief and idolatry have no part in effective mental treatment. We need to understand the ideas for ourselves, and that understanding comes to all of us in our own unique way. Let's go over an example of how our thoughts make a difference and how we can improve those thoughts in order to experience a more effective mental treatment. Take the first chapter of Genesis from the Bible. God created lights, birds, and fish before creating person. Then God gave this person dominion over the earth. Thoughts of a human-like God have generated pillage and domineering forces from a literal interpretation of that chapter. However, thoughts of a more spiritual God involve a more promising mental treatment, which produces a more likable atmosphere. And we can find these ideas on a lot of different places. I found one just a couple of weeks ago in the book, The European Dream by Jeremy Rifkin. I'll read to you from here. The idea of dominion is being redefined to mean stewardship. Human beings are to serve as God's caretakers here on earth, nurturing rather than exploiting and destroying His creation. Now we can take this further. Science and Health interprets the first chapter of Genesis as God, divine mind, as creating ideas. Light represents enlightenment. Birds signify soaring aspirations. Lions stand for moral courage. So all these spiritual qualities exist, and then God gave them identity by creating a spiritual person to image them forth. Too often, our thought process assumes we have a problem or we lack something, and so we try to be healthy as if health needs to be invented. But coming from this standpoint that science and health discusses, enlightenment, health, joy, courage, balance, and so on already exist, and we have the dominion to manifest them. I'll read from the chapter Genesis in Science and Health. Divine Spirit blesses its own ideas and causes them to multiply, to manifest love's power through us. Remember, it isn't quantity of thoughts that count, it's quality of thoughts that count in effective mental treatment. Spiritual thoughts treated bring about phenomenal results. Mental treatment coming from this standpoint effectively produces goodness and protection to us and the earth. It's talking about how the evenings and mornings signify what's the normal, and I would like to share